a huge topic. Everything you think of, you know about marketing might change due to this. So my whole idea for today is just to get you thinking in a different way about marketing. Not really how to market, but what to look at when marketing. So we're quickly going to go through that. I know everybody wants to know more about marketing and marketing itself. But there is no blanket slate that you can use for marketing. Every single product, company, objective you have is a marketing campaign on its own. And you have to start thinking correctly about how to do it based on what you are actually trying to achieve on that. Okay, so a bit about me. Small Business Hub, I've got a couple of companies. Small Business Hub is the one which I actually joined the chamber with. We're in business now for about 11 years, and this year we're going to pivot again as to what to bring to the SMME market. So what we've done is a survey, and 44% of all SMMEs that we've interviewed, the biggest constraint, biggest issue is the marketing, effective marketing, and the marketing constraint budget, the budgetary constraints with regards to marketing. So at that stage, we were part of the OPIC fund, and we did all the business consulting for the OPIC fund, which is, I don't know who knows the OPIC fund. The OPIC fund is the US government's fund to supplement and to get third world countries up to first world standard. So they had this bucket of money, and they said, go and uplift the world. But with that comes a lot of data and access to a lot of data. That's usually not available. So we took a lot of that, and we ended up 44% of all SMMEs has the same problem. And that is not just in a third world country, it's everywhere. So don't feel alone. In third world countries like ours, even if nobody actually wants to admit we're third world, it's worse than 44%. This is a global average. Okay. So what we've done is we've took all the statistics, all the knowledge, brought everybody together and had a huge brainstorming session. And we applied just to ensure that it's foolproof and that it's actually working. The results that we got, we went from 57,000 website visitors a year up to a staggering 117 million website visitors a year. We went from 1,200 listings, paid listings, to 78,000 paid listings in a year with zero budgeting change on that. Just by looking at it differently, so doing the same, looking at it differently and focusing on that. So it is possible that you can either decrease your marketing budget and still increase the outcome of what you need. Okay. So, what is marketing? Marketing can be described as the art of nurturing relationships with consumers with the aim of building brand awareness and loyalty. Very plain, very simple. What is psychology? It's a scientific study of human behavior, and the link between marketing and psychology is evident. And why? Because your clients and prospective clients are people. Most people forget that. The next issue that we have is sales versus marketing. When does sales stop and when does marketing stop? This changed, but you'll see in the next slide, this changed completely over the past, give or take 15 years of how it works. But marketing is basically obtaining leads and sales qualified leads for your salespeople to basically get a signed contract on. And that changed completely. Previously, marketing was just an advertising campaign. You sent it out, whoever comes back, that's the salespeople's problem. Not anymore. Marketing is much more extensive than what it used to be. And that's why you actually have to bring psychology into marketing, because your client relationship is started and built through your marketing process. Okay. Usually you get a marketing company. Who uses marketing companies or has a marketing company? Does all of you have and use marketing companies to do your marketing? Okay. And who does their own? Okay. If you go to a marketing company, if you did a little bit of self-study on marketing, you see they've basically got two things. And that is, who or what are your clients? As part of that, they ask you, are they men, are they women, percentages, their age groups, interests, stuff like that. It's common questions. Everybody asks it. All the literature that you go and read about, they tell you, look at that. But what does that mean? Nothing, actually. Okay, your product. What is your product? All of you know your product. You're in business because of your product. And who uses your product? The question I have to ask you is, the clients currently using your product, is that the actual client you were targeting? Or is that just somebody which actually saw and uses the product, but it's not your main core focus of what you want to market to, or the client you want to acquire on that? In most cases, your clients you currently have is not actually the core which you hoped for, or opted for, or tried to market to. And there is a reason for that. Okay. Usually, they bring in a nice graphic designer, and if you really want to pay a lot, you bring in a Nero marketer. To do what? To design nice graphics for you and make it look nice. But 43% of people's brains have no idea about how it looks. They don't care how it looks. But we'll get to that as well. Every person you're trying to market to is different. And you have to pinpoint not just age groups, not just genders, but the type of person you are actually trying to market to. And knowing that will actually bring you to the correct marketing campaign on that. This is the standard ratios that you can actually look at. Start and do your advertising. You advertise to 1,000 clients. 7% of them actually respond to your advertisement. Is there anybody that gets more than 7%? No. Why not? Your MQL, a marketing qualifying lead. If you don't use a marketing company, you most probably doesn't even know what an MQL, a marketing qualified lead is. You send out a flyer and you wait for clients. Okay. From that, 31% of your 7% actually becomes a marketing qualifying lead. From that, you get an additional 46% of your marketing qualifying, which actually becomes a sales qualifying, somebody that's willing to buy from you. And from that, your forecasters deals and wins is actually only 34%. That is the current average marketing effectiveness out there. So for every 1,000 clients, you get 3 which actually sells. Have you ever wondered why? It's blanket marketing. You do blanket marketing. You do a nice graphic, you put a couple of info on there which you think are relevant, and you push it out. How many people like you are out there? How many people like you that actually wants your service now is out there? Based on this 3. Okay, so what happens? They say, you've got to align your sales and your marketing campaign. That will boost your sales 208%. And that is actually correct. It's 100% correct. So, in order to do that, you put your salespeople, just want to show you something interesting. Look at the sales and marketing picture. And that's the difference between sales and marketing. Sales guy wants to go to Jacksonville. The marketing guy goes to his mom's for Christmas. Who would you pick up? They have exactly the same goal. Exactly the same. But marketing works from a different angle. It's mainly emotion. Marketing is getting an emotion with someone or making an emotional connection with someone. But that's also not 100% correct for all marketing campaigns. Okay, so what happens is you want to up your sales 208%. What happens? You go to your sales team and you give them sales training and you teach them about the 7 yeses. Who knows about the 7 yeses of sales? Okay. In psychology, if you can get anybody in a conversation to say yes to your answers 7 times, the likelihood of them actually saying yes to your product being sold is almost 100%. That is if you ask the correct questions during the sales process. And that is all to do with building rapport, credibility, all of that. So you ask questions during the sales process to actually get them to say yes at the end of the day. And that is by asking them, don't you agree? Which means it's actually your idea. And what I'm saying, you believe in. Do you believe? It's an emotion. You believe. You've got that. And wouldn't you want to be taking it further? I want to grow. I want to become more. It's all emotional. It's all part of the sales. Okay. So you put your salespeople through all of this to take your 3% up by 208%, or your 3 clients up by 208%, which gives you a staggering 6 clients. It's a 200% profit increase, and everybody says, well done, you're brilliant. Are you really? Because through this whole process, you've still lost 997 potential sales. But nobody ever goes back and asks why. If you go to a marketing company or anything, they say, but that's a norm, that's standard. I don't believe that to be standard. And there's a reason why it's not standard. And that is because the focus and the way that you do your advertising is not focused on the specific client that you want to acquire versus the product that you want to sell to them. So you've got to know your client and what your client will actually react to in order to get them from a prospect directly to a sales qualifying lead. Sales qualifying lead is just somebody that says, yes, I want it, where can I sign? That's basically what a sales qualifying lead is. Okay. So, usually, on the marketing sales funnel, that side, I just want to see if my pointer works, but it's such a fine little thingy, you can't see. On the left hand side, you see that is what it used to be. You had your marketing section, which basically had awareness. So your brand awareness, product awareness, whatever you want to create awareness about, that's your standard campaign. Hello, we here, look at us, this is what we can do. And from there you've had your interest and getting people to actually become interested in your product. The next step was consideration, and that's usually when marketing got off the bus. Never went further than consideration. And then your salespeople took over and they drove that whole process through that. So your salespeople went through consideration, the intent, evaluation, and at the end of the day, the purpose. That completely changed. Now, marketing basically covers everything up into evaluation. You basically don't get a call, you don't get anything up to a point where you want to evaluate or get a demo, or before that it's all automated marketing. We've replaced all the salespeople with automated tools, which does most of that for us. So by doing that correctly, it's 8% of your whole process, just by doing that correctly. And that's why it's so important, because usually there was human interaction from the middle. Now there isn't any human interaction from the middle anymore. So you've got to make sure that the marketing campaign you have actually has a human footprint on it, or thumbprint on it. Because that's the only portion where you get human interaction. And if you want to know where you actually lose your 990 plus clients, it's due to not having a human interaction on top of that. If you have any questions, please feel free. You can jump in anytime, or you can wait to hijack me right at the end. Okay. The next question is, on your sales teams, who doesn't have a KPI with their sales teams? Set targets, you have to achieve this and this and this, and you drive it all the way. Who of you has a marketing SLA with your marketing company? And which marketing company is actually going to give you an SLA? None. I actually had one. I found one. A US company. They cost me about 12 times the price of what a normal company would cost. But why not? Why not have a marketing SLA? Marketing companies already has access. Actually, all of you has access to all of the data you need to be able to put a SLA in place. But the industry doesn't go for it. They don't want to carry the risk. They love to take the money, but they don't carry the risk. And there's a reason for it, because it's the norm. And they can just answer it by saying, it's the norm. Nobody does it. Because they still sell, if you look at the previous slide, they still sell the left-hand side, or they provide the left-hand side, but they sell the right-hand side. Okay. That will have to change, because marketing is now the biggest part of your whole customer engagement process and getting it to that point. So what happens after you get a marketing campaign? You've designed your flyer, all of that. Your marketing company or your graphic design or whatever comes there with that little nice piece of paper and says, do you like it? Approve it. And you say, I don't like that, I don't like that, I don't like that. Why? But you're going to buy the product. What is that flyer actually supposed to be about? It's not about you. It's about your client and your product. Have you identified your client's need and your product before actually doing it and before looking at that? Most companies or your SMEs do not have a huge team that can actually look at that. And you're supposed to have a team with a left-sided, a right-sided, and a center-managed brain to look at that. And somebody which doesn't know your product at all, or your company at all, but which is a qualifying client which you want to obtain. So that is the biggest mistake that any of us do. Because all of us get a flyer, all of us get a campaign, and we think from our objective, do we like it? But you're biased. You're completely biased. And you forget it's not about you, it's about your clients. And that is where it all comes in. Your brain has two sides. So depending on your personality, we all distribute that. So I've got my glasses on because I can't even read them. All of us has a right side and a left side. And depending on that, on your brain, there's a certain portion that's dominant. And based on the dominance of your brain, certain things will attract you more than others. Okay. So the buying rationale, you see, is the blue side. That is the guys with the logic, completely logic based. They like bullet points, They like specs, they like stats, they like all of that other nice stuff. The other side is your arty-farty brain. It's all about emotion. Show me the emotion, tell me why, tell me what's going to happen at the end. There's a couple of samples there to tell you, or to show you the difference between that. The left side of your brain, weight loss. They'll tell you 3 fast and easy weight loss recipes. Notice on the one side, it's all about numbers, totals, facts. The other side is emotion. So by stating the same sentence as 3 fast and easy weight loss recipes, on the other side, it's less time spent in the kitchen and more time with your family. Emotion. Exactly the same message. So if your campaign is based on the one side, but your client's actually on the other side, you're going to have an even worse campaign stat going forward. And that's why you have to base it on your clients. The second one, and you can apply this to anything. 5 simple worksheets. Completely right side. Email list. To-do list. Let's mark it off. On the other side, how to end your writer's block for good. Emotional. It's a problem which I have that I identify with because I'm a right side person. I'm an autistic person. 2-part video series. Short, sweet, completely right-sided. On the other side, in less than 30 minutes, start saving $300 or $500 a month. If I can ask you who's going to go for the left side? Who's more attracted to the left side and who's more attracted to the right side? You left. Right. Okay. So even in a normal small crowd like we are here, you could have gotten the message completely wrong. Everyone is different. But there are ways to actually identify and to get the sweet spot of how to market and where to market. And that's what's bringing us to the fix. Psychology of marketing is knowing your client, and not just your client, it's also knowing your product. The question is, how well and have you mapped your product to your client or your prospective client that you actually want to market to? Okay. And marketing has similar tricks that you can use, if you can call it that, to what is being used in the sales processes, like the 7 yeses, and there's a lot of them. Similar tricks. But those tricks can only be applied after you've added the whole psychology logic to mapping your product versus your client. So first of all, if you've got all papers here, a piece of paper, map out your product itself, define your product. It's a standard scale, 1 to 10. 1 to 5, your product's a necessity. From 5 to 10, it's a luxury. And you can, based on your product that you want to sell, see if it's a necessity and the price is high, give it a 5. If it's an absolute necessity and your price is low, give it a 1. If it's a luxury and your price is high, and that's not just, it's in the market itself as well and against your competitors. Because if you might have a similar product, but you know it's better, but your clients don't know it's better yet, they only know it's more expensive. And you've got to focus on that as to why it's more expensive. So take your product or service that you want to sell and just map it on the normal line, 1 to 10, where you would actually place it. And the next is, you've got to map your clients. So on a line, also a scale from 1 to 10. 1 to 5 is your left brain. That's the jobs your clients do. Most people actually fall into a specific job based on the dominance of their brain. If you're completely analytical, if you are a lawyer, if you have, or okay, I must say, some lawyers have a much more creative side than others. But depending on where you are, based on your job, you are either left brain dominant or right brain dominant. Okay, so based on the client that you actually want to focus on, you can, or which is your ideal client, you can map it also on the bottom line from either 1 to 5 or 5 to 10. I know there's a lot of people which actually say, but I market to everyone. You can't really. You can't. Focus on a specific section, because that's what marketing is about. There is no blanket marketing, except if you have a lot of money and you want to really give it away, because that's wasting money. there is no everybody is my client. So if you can map that, at the end of the day, if you bring those two together, you get the quadrant. A standard quadrant showing you how to map your product versus your client or against your client, based on what they do, what their most dominant brain function is. And that can also show you how to market to them. So if you look at, if you have a very luxurious product, very expensive product, and if you look at your client base at the bottom, it's a completely analytical. So you've got a data architect or a CFO, which actually have to look at it. They look just at numbers. No emotion, no nothing, it's just numbers. What do you give to them? Specs, features. You provide them features, but you sell the benefit. So you start with marketing the feature. But as soon as you get that to the sales process, that goes over to emotion. Okay? You do comparisons. Analytical brains love comparisons. That is, if your market and your target client actually need that. Do comparisons for them. Provide white papers. Those people crave knowledge. They want knowledge. Give them white papers. As much as you can, share the knowledge. It's only going to add to your credibility. That is for a very expensive product. But if you go to a normal necessity, a cheap product, you're not going to go through all of that. Because people on the lower end, for necessity, but that's analytical, doesn't need all of that. They don't want to go and spend, they are analytical. Would you spend 6 hours reading a white paper for something that costs you $200? But they need the basic specs, because specs is what sells them. So you give a shortened version of that. If you make it too big and you give too much information, you lose them as well. And you can't know, and you don't know why, because it's only a $200 product. Everybody should buy it. Everybody has money for that. But due to the amount of info which you gave, you completely lost your client. So make sure to give them basic specs and ensure that they know it's value for money. The value for money for an analytical person, an analytical person will always say, okay, based on the 30 minutes, if I can make $600 an hour, it's going to cost me $300 to do this. Where if you give it short and sweet with a direct statement to say value for money, that's your call to action. Value to money, or value for money. Short, speak sheet, and just say value for money, and you've got them. On the other side, if you have your right brain persons, they want to know how you feel. How will they feel using it? Talk about your product, show them. And that's the same with your video marketing. Video marketing on an analytical person is not going to be as effective as it would be for a right brain person, depending on how you do it. Okay, so talk about how you will feel using the product. Show the difference it will make to their lives, especially if especially if it's an expensive product. If you take a leather couch, exactly the same, both of them buffalo leather, but the one has this brand name, it costs $100,000 for a couch, and the other one is a local manufacturer making the exact couch for $25,000. Why would you spend $100,000 instead of $25,000? Emotion. So you want the luxury due to emotion because you crave status. You want to have that brand name. I don't even know what the brand names are because I come from a plotland. I don't know brands. But your Rochester or whatever this fancy guys is, which you completely overpay for your products. You want that. Can you see what that is to? So you get those products and they still sell. But they sell based on emotional connection. And the emotional connection is based on what you crave. If you're already an emotional person, you want to have the best of the best and brand names because it makes you feel even better. And you're willing to pay 5 times the amount because that's what you connect with. That's who you are. That's what you do. And that's the answer to why does his product sell and his product is much more expensive than mine. It's because the mapping of where your client are and how you market your product to that client based on where your product and your client meets. That's why it sells. Then at the bottom, catchy phrases, impulsive. It's not expensive. It's a creative person. A creative person, you have to catch their attention. That's what you do. Nothing much. Catchy phrases, which you have to do, and it's an impulsive buy. Short and sweet. If you look at BG, Bubblegum, Chappies. If you look at Chappies, Chappies has a huge market. Why? I think it was due to the jingle and the whole logo. They had this guy because the market was kids. So I had kids and a catchy phrase or catchy jingle. And that's why the kids went. If you look at your more upmarket, Clurettes or whatever, they've got a completely different marketing strategy. Because the clients they have and the pricing model that they're based on, I don't even know what Chappies cost these days, but a 30 cent versus a 10 rand difference. It's all in your marketing and it's about how to connect via your marketing. There's a lot of products that we can actually go and map this. Cigarettes, I know a bit more about cigarettes. Marlboro, if you look at Marlboro, and you look at, okay, they're not allowed to advertise anymore, but most of us still remember the advertisements we had 10 years ago. The Marlboro Man, that, and look at where their pricing is versus their clients. Then you look at a Peter Stuyvesant or Dunhill, and look at their marketing strategy. They were brilliant at their marketing. And that's why we all worked. And I'm glad we did because their marketing was absolutely awesome. But think about any product you do and use the same to go and match your product versus your clients. But there is no blanket statement. There is still 33% of all people, which actually is, what's a nice word? Balanced. So you can use both sides of your brain. And in most instances, you either, in your current marketing campaigns, you either get the 24%, 33%, or the 43%. And that is what your current marketing material actually focuses on, without you knowing it. Because it depends all on how you are. Because you're the one which actually approved and said, yes, I like this. And your marketing material is based on that. And that also determines the success of your campaign. Okay. The interesting method is, if you look at your artsy-fartsy brands, they are actually far more off the spectrum than what your analyticals are. And if you also look at your balanced persons, your more analytical person falls more into your balance section than what your artsy-fartsy brain is on that. So if your clients are artsy-fartsy and creative and all of that, go way out. Because that's where they are. If they're more analytical, you can actually use both. Because the chances are, do you guys know how the Maslow hierarchy works? Okay. Depending on where you are in that hierarchy, depends on what your needs are. And that is also something you have to take into consideration. Because a CEO of a company which actually started as a developer, their needs and the way you market to them have changed over the past 10 years to where they are now. Because everybody changes. And you have to look at where your client is now, both emotionally, in his person, as a being, and then identify his needs and how to market based on that quadrant. And that's how you get your client. It's all psychology. No emotion, no nothing. It's data. It's stats. Pinpoint where your client is. Pinpoint where your client is on his emotional level, and you'll know how to get your clients. And that is where the 990 odd clients fall off, because you don't use this. It's very easy to push sales because it's a person. You can go to a person and say, Frank, you need to sell double more. This year, I want you to sell double more. But that's not the root of your problem. If you've got a 34% accuracy or winning sales, you don't need better salespeople. You need more qualified leads. Because if that same statistic you had beforehand was altered and you could get 100 people through the door to the salespeople, then you wouldn't have had 3, you would have had 30 clients. That's 3,000% increase. The problem is not sales, the problem is marketing, and you have to address that correctly. Okay. And when you actually start looking at this and setting up your marketing campaign, you can use the IDA method. If you all know the IDA method. Okay. IDA is the standard marketing method that you actually use. Okay. You first have to do your awareness, you have to do interest, desire. We can send this to everybody if they want. There's a couple of extra slides as well, but I can't fit it in the time frame. It's actually a heck of a lot of extra, but we won't be able to fit it in here. So you've got your awareness, your interest, your desire, and your action. Okay. That is the 4 things which you need to get to actually get a client to say yes, sign the dotted line. So through your whole marketing campaign, that's what you have to focus on. But you focus on one at a time. Because you can't bring a desire or an action directly with awareness. It's not the way the mind works. You have to go through those different stages, if you call it that, on that. And how do you achieve that? In each of those stages, you can use various triggers to get them to actually go to the next level. Any movement from one to the other is called a trigger. And the various triggers which you can use is scarcity, curiosity, anticipation, and social proofing. So depending on your client, some of these triggers will work better than others of them. If you have a luxurious item and you're willing to pay 10 times the price for that item, you want to be seen socially for doing that. So you bring in celebrities that uses that. Why does Nike pay $33 million for an athlete to wear their shoes? It's social proofing. Why? The kids don't have money, but they associate with that shoe and where they want to get to. So they connect with their parents on emotion to say, if I want to be as good as him, I need that 2,000 rand pair of shoes on that. That's why they did it. So each of these triggers you can use through the whole process to ensure that you can move your client from the one onto the next of that. Okay. Some extras. Who of you actually uses remarketing? Okay. Who of you sees far too many adverts per day if you go to social media? You're bombarded with that. Okay. That's why the latest studies have shown most people actually only buy a product on the 6th time you remarket to them. And that is only if you don't use the same advert. So you've got the same message in 6 different ways to get a client to become a lead. Because everybody is using social media, it's cheap, it's quick, it's fast, and there's a lot of YouTube videos on how to use social media marketing for free. And they spam. That's all they do. They spam. And that is unfortunately one of the things that you've got to start using social remarketing or remarketing in your campaigns. That's also a whole different subject on how to do remarketing and how to do it effectively and correctly on that. But don't be afraid to have different variants of the same advert and just doing it on different days. Don't do the same advert every single time. Have a couple of different and rotate them as you go along. Okay. Questionnaires. That 990 odd clients which you lost, nobody ever goes back and asks why. The most important question you can ask is, why did they not get your business? Because that's the steepest learning curve which you'll ever have. So as part of your remarketing campaign, that's the nice thing about social media. They can actually identify exactly who saw your campaign and did not complete it or did not go to the next level. And you can use that on the third or fourth time to actually add a questionnaire in there. Just complete this poll quickly. It's the only way that you will know why or why not, why you've lost the money or why you haven't attracted the client is due to that. There's a lot of nice marketing tools out there which can facilitate this whole process for you. Because this is a full-time job for a couple of people to actually do that. But there are decent tools. There's actually a magnitude of tools out there which can do it, and you're overwhelmed by which tool to use. Because it's all better features, better, but there are tools to do it. I can also guide you on a couple of tools if you like later, but it's also based on your needs. The tools are all based on your needs. Okay. A/B testing. Who does email campaigns? Who sends out email campaigns still? Only one person that does email campaigns. 2, 3, 4. Do you know that email campaigns, even though social media is there, email campaigns still has the highest conversion rate, if done correctly. So with email campaigns, they've got this nice thing that says A/B testing. Who knows what A/B testing is? A/B testing is variants, different variants of your mail which goes out. And they basically take your marketing database and split it and say, these 10 get that and those 10 gets this one. And they measure which were more effective on that. So there's a lot of truth to that. But depending on your clients and where they are on their brain activity, you can't have 2 mails that goes out. Because the one might be focused right brain, the other might be focused left brain, and on a specific need or specific place where your client is on the hierarchy. But if you're an analytical person, you don't see one mail on your app because you're logic. You want proof. So you want a second and a third mail. Reiterating what you actually want to know. But you as the business owner don't know what is the next question, what they want to know. And that's where with A/B testing you also bring in questionnaires. Get into action. That you don't lose the human portion, that whole human side on that. Okay. So we've included the 3 variants, the fallout. Nobody thinks of your dual brain people. And most people actually create a standard blanket mail which goes out. And if you're lucky, it will be a balanced person which creates that mail. And you have a bigger reach, either to one side or to the other side, but you have a bigger reach. It's not because they're brilliant, it's because they're balanced. That's all. But you still leave at least 60% of the market on the table that you don't market to. Splintering. Anybody knows what splintering is? You have a valuable product and service or a package of products that's out there, but they don't know you, they don't trust you, you don't have the brand awareness. So it might be that you have a very luxurious product for a very analytical person, but let's say for instance a server. You're a new company with a server, bringing out a new server. You have to go and compete with IBM, HP, all of those big brand names. You've got a marketing budget of 10 grand. How will you ever compete with it? That's where splintering comes in. You take a portion of your product or service and you sell it at bottom bare price. With anything you can basically do that. Take your current service, your current package and splinter a portion off if you don't have brand awareness yet. Take a portion and put it out for cheap. That will, first of all, it should cover your marketing cost. So that marketing cost you zero. Second of all, by doing that, you've actually reached your target clients. And you've got them on a database. And they already interacted with you. Although it's only a small piece of what you've done. That's one way of competing with the big boys without actually having that huge budget. So a lot of guys which I know actually take the most valuable portion. If you've written a book or whatever, you take a specific chapter from that book which you feel has the most value. And you sell that chapter for $30, $50. You recover your marketing cost, your name gets out there, people start talking about it, and they come back and buy the whole book. Because if that portion was as valuable, the rest should be as well. You buy with logic. I want to get that. There's a nice saying that you decide with logic, but you buy with emotion. You buy with emotion, and you make it right with logic. If you can, that's very bad. I can't remember the exact quote.
Justified.
And justify it with logic. Okay. And that's usually what happens. I'm one of those creatures with a balanced brain, sort of. I like to have all my data and all the facts and do all my research beforehand to know I want to go and buy this and this and this. But when you actually get there, you know you need this, this and this. But whilst you're there, but this one has this feature, that one has that, and this one has, and you buy that. It's only $1,000 more. Because when you actually do the buying portion, that's emotion, but you justify it with logic, and you've got to give enough to justify the logic for doing what they're doing. By splintering, you are justifying the logic on why they should actually continue with the sale. Okay, and then sell the interest. You don't start directly with the product and you market a product. You sell the interest to a product. That's where your clients are. If you meet somebody for the first time, you say, "Hi, I'm Dirk. I can do your marketing for $100,000. Would you like it?" Nobody will ever go for it. You sell the interest first. So your marketing campaign is all about the interest in your product, not your product. Your product will come, but they first have to be interested in what you're selling and what you're providing. Doesn't matter which portion of the brain it is. Your brain portion just tells you how to do it. This is what you need to do. Does it make sense? Okay. Conclusion. Even if you are drawn to your own marketing material, remember it's not about you. You are completely biased. Don't look at your own marketing material. You can look at spelling mistakes, but everybody can do that. You can look at accuracy of data, but everybody can do that. But take your marketing material to somebody which doesn't know your product or service at all. And to a couple of them, because you don't know if they are left brain, right brain, or your actual client that you are looking for. Okay. Remember that you are biased towards your product and service. Ensure that your marketing team is balanced. Always have a left brain, a right brain, and a balanced person, and if possible, somebody from outside. It's the only way where you can actually have an objective look at your marketing and what you're putting out there. Some of us, which have small businesses, this is hard to do. And if you've got a secretary or whatever, what usually happens is you get it, you design it, you change it, you send it to her and say, what do you think? And she just says, just keep the boss happy. Awesome. Doesn't work. Don't do it. And always ask afterwards, if you've lost a sale, why not? What happens is one of the companies in America, in the US, they had a huge issue with increasing their sales and their sales volumes, and also all of this sales gurus went to them. And we've got to teach you guys to do this and the 7 whys, and there's a lot of things that actually sell to help improve. And the one marketing expert went in and said, do you know who enters into your doors? They said, yes, we know, all of our clients come in. Say, and do you actually phone them on their way out if they haven't bought? I said, no. So they did it. You've got, with your phones, you've got NFC. So you write a little app. Every person which comes through the door, you know exactly who came into the door. If you exit without going to the tills, you know exactly who's exited without acquiring a product. And they phoned every person which left the store without buying. If they phoned within 3 minutes of that person leaving the store without buying, 87% of them came back and bought. Always ask why not. That's the biggest mistake that we do. If somebody's not interested in your product, most of us just say, he's lost. He doesn't want my product, so bad. Yeah. But that is the biggest way of rectifying your whole marketing process. And to actually get your clients, because if they've showed interest enough to get to you, to get to your product, why not show the same courtesy and ask, but why not? They're already there. Okay. And then, thank you for your valuable time. Time is money, so I don't want to waste too much. But if you have any questions, please, the floor is